most thriving villages, through long, dismal, uninhabited swamps, and affluent, cultivated fields, unrivaled for fertility, by billiard-room and bar-room, through the holy-of-holies of great forests, on Roman arches over Indian rivers, through sun and shade, by happy hearts or broken, through all the wide contrasting scenery of those noble Mohawk counties, and especially by rows of snow-white chapels, whose spires stand almost like milestones, flows one continual stream of Venetianly corrupt and often lawless life. There's your true Ashantee, gentlemen. There howl your pagans, where you ever find them, next door to you, under the long-flung shadow, and the snug patronizingly of churches. For by some curious fatality, as it is often noted of your metropolitan freebooters that they ever encamp around the halls of justice, so sinners, gentlemen, most abound in holiest vicinities. "Is that a friar passing?" said Don Pedro, looking downwards into the crowded plaza, with humorous concern. "Well, for our northern friend, Dame Isabella's Inquisition wanes in Lima," laughed Don Sebastian. "Proceed, senor." "A moment. Pardon," cried another of the company. "In the name of all us Limeys, I but desire to express to you, Sir Sailor, that we have by no means overlooked your delicacy in not substituting present Lima for distant Venice in your corrupt comparison. Oh, do not bow and look surprised. You know the proverb all along this coast, corrupt as Lima. It but bears out your saying, too, churches more plentiful than billiard tables, and forever open, and corrupt as Lima. So, too, Venice. I have been there, the holy city of the blessed evangelist, Saint Mark. Saint Dominic, purge it. Your cup. Thanks. Here I refill. Now, you pour out again." Freely depicted in his own vocation, gentlemen, the canaller would make a fine dramatic hero, so abundantly and picturesquely wicked is he. Like Mark Antony, for days and days along his green-turfed, flowery Nile, he indolently floats, openly toying with his red-cheeked Cleopatra, ripening his apricot thigh upon the sunny deck. But ashore, all this effeminacy is dashed. The brigandish guise which the canaller so proudly sports, his slouched and gaily ribboned hat betoken his grand features, a terror to the smiling innocence of the villages through which he floats. His swart visage and bold swagger are not unshunned in cities. Once a vagabond on his own canal, I have received good turns from one of these canallers. I thank him heartily, would fain be not ungrateful. But it is often one of the prime redeeming qualities of your man of violence, that at times he has as stiff an arm to back a poor stranger in a strait, as to plunder a wealthy one. In sum, gentlemen, what the wildness of this canal life is emphatically evinced by this, that our wild whale fishery contains so many of its most finished graduates, and that scarce any race of mankind, except Sydney men, are so much distrusted by our whaling captains. Nor does it at all diminish the curiousness of this matter, that to many thousands of our rural boys and young men born along its line, the probationary life of the Grand Canal furnishes the sole transition between quietly reaping in a Christian cornfield, and recklessly plowing the waters of the most barbaric seas. I see, impetuously exclaimed Don Pedro, spilling his chicha upon his silvery ruffles. No need to travel. The world's one Lima. I had thought, now, that at your temperate north the generations were cold and holy as the hills, but the story I left off, gentlemen, where the lakeman shook the backstay. Hardly had he done so, when he was surrounded by the 3 junior mates and the 4 harpooners, who all crowded him to the deck. But sliding down the ropes like baleful comets, the 2 canallers rushed into the uproar, and sought to drag their man out of it towards the forecastle. Others of the sailors joined with them in this attempt, and a twisted turmoil ensued. While standing out of harm's way, the valiant captain danced up and down with the whale pike, calling upon his officers to manhandle that atrocious scoundrel, and smoke him along to the quarter-deck. At intervals, he ran close up to the revolving border of the confusion, and prying into the heart of it with his pike, sought to prick out the object of his resentment. But Steelkilt and his desperadoes were too much for them all. They succeeded in gaining the forecastle deck, where, hastily slewing about 3 or 4 large casks in a line with the windlass, these sea Parisians entrenched themselves behind the barricade. "Come out of that, ye pirates!" roared the captain, now menacing them with a pistol in each hand, just brought to him by the steward. "Come out of that, ye cutthroats!" Steelkilt leaped on the barricade, and striding up and down there, defied the worst the pistols could do, but gave the captain to understand distinctly that his, Steelkilt's, death would be the signal for a murderous mutiny on the part of all hands. Fearing in his heart lest this might prove but too true, the captain a little desisted, but still commanded the insurgents instantly to return to their duty. "Will you promise not to touch us, if we do?" demanded the ringleader. Turn to. "I make no promise." "To your duty. Do you want to sink the ship, by knocking off at a time like this?" Turn to. And he once more raised a pistol. "Sink the ship?" cried Steelkilt. "Aye, let her sink. Not a man of us turns to, unless you swear not to raise a rope yarn against us. What say ye, men?" Turning to his comrades, a fierce cheer was their response. The lakeman now patrolled the barricade, all the while keeping his eye on the captain, and jerking out such sentences as these: "It's not our fault. We didn't want it. I told him to take his hammer away. It was boy's business. He might have known me before this. I told him not to prick the buffalo. I believe I have broken a finger here against his cursed jaw. Ain't those mincing knives down in the forecastle there, men? Look to those handspikes, my hearties. Captain, by God, look to yourself. Say the word. Don't be a fool. Forget it all. We are ready to turn to. Treat us decently, and we're your men, but we won't be flogged." Turn to. "I make no promises. Turn to, I say." "Look ye, now," cried the lakeman, flinging out his arm towards him, "there are a few of us here, and I am one of them who have shipped for the cruise. D'ye see? Now, as you well know, sir, we can claim our discharge as soon as the anchor is down, so we don't want a row. It's not our interest. We want to be peaceable. We are ready to work, but we won't be flogged." "Turn to," roared the captain. Steelkilt glanced round him a moment, and then said: "I tell you what it is now, captain, rather than kill ye, and be hung for such a shabby rascal, we won't lift a hand against ye unless ye attack us, but till you say the word about not flogging us, we don't do a hand's turn. Down into the forecastle then, down with ye, I'll keep ye there till ye re sick of it. Down ye go." "Shall we?" cried the ringleader to his men. Most of them were against it, but at length, in obedience to Steelkilt, they preceded him down into their dark den, growlingly disappearing, like bears into a cave. As the lakeman's bare head was just level with the planks, the captain and his posse leaped the barricade, and rapidly drawing over the slide of the scuttle, planted their group of hands upon it, and loudly called for the steward to bring the heavy brass padlock belonging to the companionway. Then opening the slide a little, the captain whispered something down the crack, closed it, and turned the key upon them, 10 in number, leaving on deck some 20 or more, who thus far had remained neutral. All night the wide-awake watch was kept by all the officers, forward and aft, especially about the forecastle scuttle and fore hatchway, at which last place it was feared the insurgents might emerge, after breaking through the bulkhead below. But the hours of darkness passed in peace, the men who still remained at their duty toiling hard at the pumps, whose clinking and clanking at intervals through the dreary night dismally resounded through the ship.